So I told you yesterday that 3rd John is kind of a tale of three men. We looked at Gaius last week or yesterday, and he was the recipient of the letter. But now we're going to look at someone who is in many ways the exact opposite of Gaius, and we're going to talk about Diotrophies. Now, in verse 9 through 11, this is what John says about him. I wrote to the church, but Diotrophies, who loves to be first, will not welcome us. So when I come, I will call attention to what he's doing, spreading malicious nonsense about us. Not satisfied with that, he even refuses to welcome other believers. He also stops those who want to do so and puts them out of the church. Dear friends, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. Anyone who does what is good is from God, and anyone who does what is evil has not seen God. So we have a few things that we notice about Diotrophies. Okay, first of all, we know that he is arrogant. He is suffering from pride. And we know this because of the very first sentence. Who loves to be first and will not welcome us. He's very prideful and he's not willing to listen. Okay, so that's his first issue. Second issue comes in verse 10 when he says that he is spreading malicious nonsense, meaning that he's just outright lying. He's doing it to be hurtful and to be spiteful. And if we take it in context with the first part, he's probably doing it to elevate himself over other people. Okay, and then the third part, as John says, is not even to be satisfied with that. He even refuses to welcome other believers. So his pride has come into the point where not only does he want to elevate himself above others, but he is unwilling to listen and welcome other people. So this is a person that really, truly struggles with pride. And I have to admit that that's something that I struggle with at times. But hopefully not to the point that Diotrophies does, but we all have issues of pride and things that we struggle with. And these things can come in undercover ways. If you look at the issues that John has with Diotrophies, none of them are theological issues. This is character that we're talking about here. These are character qualities that are being wrestled with here. And that's important for us to remember because sometimes our fellow believers are the things that are being hindrances, not because of theological issues, but because of character issues. And for us, I think it's important for us to examine ourselves and ensure that we are not being hindrances to our fellow believers. It's really hard to practice humility. And honestly, as soon as you think you've got it, you've lost it because you've lost that humility. I've got this. Oh, there it went. We have to be careful not to be like Diotrophies, where we think we know better than everyone else, where we think we are the best, and where we think that no one else can build into us. There was a podcast that came out here over this past year that made huge waves called The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill, and it basically chronicles what happened to this megachurch, and more in particular to its lead pastor, Mark Driscoll. I highly encourage you listen to it and read it, if not just for examining yourself and making sure that you don't fall into some of those same traps. But one of the comments that Mark Driscoll made very clearly in it that truly broke my heart was when people tried to bring in accountability to him. And they said, hey, Mark, listen, we want you to visit with other people and get some accountability. And a couple of people were named, and Mark's reply was, why would I listen to them? Our church is bigger. And that's a very prideful statement. And I think sometimes we come across that as well. Why would I want to listen to this person? I have more of an education that they do. Why would I want to listen to this person? I have all this life experience. We have to be very careful not to make those things points and matters of pride. And instead, we need to try to act in humility. And John reminds us of what happens in the end of this in verse 11. Dear friends, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. Anyone who does what is good is from God, and anyone who does what is evil has not seen God. Not only have they not seen God, but they're not showing God to others. And this is what John is saying. Hey, if your fruit is bearing the wrong kind of fruit, then you're not from God. You're not honoring God. You're not doing the things that are necessary as followers of Christ. So we need to not only examine this on in the part of pride, but we also need to make sure that we understand that eventually we get seen. And how we respond to people and how we treat people is very visible, not only to God, but to other people. Eventually, the truth will come out, and eventually, hopefully, someone will come to us and they will, like John is promising to do here, we will have someone that will, well, unfortunately, take us down pretty hard so that we can be built back up. Okay, tomorrow we're going to talk Oreo cookies.